Today we make your sentences more concise. So far we've been looking at the information that needs to go into your paper so that you can justify your conclusions. And then we looked at paragraphs in order to turn your text into a storyline where the information really flows from idea to idea to idea so that you have a good scientific story about your work. So today we want to pay attention to your specific wording in the sentences to get rid of noise that is obscuring your actual message. So the first thing I want you to remove is repetitions. It's very common to accidentally say things several times in different ways. And sometimes you actually find the phrase in other words literally in the text. That probably means that first you said it complicated and now you're saying it more clearly. Just get rid of the complicated way of saying things and just keep the clear one, the concise one. Another hint that you are repeating yourself is when you start looking for synonyms and you're actually not saying anything new anymore, you're just saying the same thing over and over. So the next thing I want you to look at is jargon. Obviously, this is professional communication, so you need to have some jargon in there, but you don't need all of it. There are basically three cases. The first is that the term is so common that it doesn't need any explanation. You can just use it without any problem. Just for an example, DNA is a term that everybody probably knows, has an idea what it is. The second type of jargon that you should consider are those technical terms that the wider research community will probably not understand because it's very specific to your own field, your own research, and maybe adjacent fields. I would say if you only use a term 2 or 3 times, you might get away with not using it at all. You certainly do not need to introduce abbreviations and acronyms for them. When it comes to technical terms that are crucial to your study, terms that you would put into the keywords, into the list of keywords, then you should definitely explain them. The point here is to make sure that your reader doesn't feel like they are involved in some sort of vocabulary exam, trying to keep up with all those different terms that you're throwing at them. The third thing I want you to look at are phrases that are unnecessary and overly wordy. For example, from my own writing, actually, I wrote, birds were previously shown to use optic flow for orientation during flight. So first of all, using the word previously is unnecessary. Just remove it. So we are at birds were shown to use optic flow, etc. And then were shown to use actually simply means use. In other words, you can cut down the sentence to birds use optic flow for orientation during flight. Similar cases are phrases like as is well known. Also the phrase it is of interest to note that. You wouldn't note it if it wasn't interesting. If it's not interesting to note, it's not in your text anyways. So everything in your text is interesting to note, so this is a useless phrase. Then I found an interesting chapter title, What kinds of natural processes can be regarded as computations? So I see several problems with this title. The first is the use of what instead of which. So it should be which kinds of natural processes. The second point would be if you ask for kinds of natural processes, you're really asking about natural processes. So you can remove kinds of as well. And then finally, can be regarded as means are. So what I would change this title to is which natural processes are computations. So another example would be the sentence, however, it should be emphasized that nominal responsibility is not necessarily indicative of time devoted to training. In this sentence, again, there are a couple of things that you should change or you could change. So first of all, you can remove however from your vocabulary and replace it with but, and you'll be just as fine. I don't know if you need to do that in academic circles. People understand it just as well. It's simply another word. If you are hard-pressed on character limits, removing however and putting in but saves you 4 characters. So another thing is the phrase, it should be emphasized. Again, whatever you put into your text should already be the emphasis. If it's not worth emphasizing, it should not be in your text. And finally, the phrase is not necessarily indicative means it's not indicative. But then you're using the verb is. The verb is more like a crutch here. You don't really need it. You can replace it simply by indicates. So I would change the whole sentence to say, but nominal responsibility does not indicate time devoted to training. There are also empty words that you could look at. That would be, for example, important. Important doesn't really have a meaning in itself. An example from medical writing would be, it is important that patients take their medicine. What does that mean? Should they take the medicine or must they take their medicine? You should say, in order to avoid X, patients must or need or should take their medication. Another empty word is treated, and the example here would be, the patient was treated for X. That doesn't tell you really what's happening. You might think that this would be a good introductory sentence to a paragraph that then further explains which drugs were given or which therapy or whatever, which surgery. But really, you can just put that information right there. You can say, to treat X, the patients underwent surgery. A related example would be a sentence like, the patient reacted well. What does that mean? How did they react that you think it was well? So instead of writing something like that, you want to be specific. You want to maybe give a number. Maybe the blood pressure was above a certain threshold. So you could say the patient's blood pressure increased above 150 or something. And now I'm going to read to you a couple of phrases that can all be replaced with the same single word. And I would like to hear from you in the comment section which word that would be. So the phrases are, accounted for by the fact that, due to the fact that, for the reason that, and in view of the fact that. Which very simple word could replace each of these phrases? Alright, this is it. If you found this video useful, please give me a thumbs up. This really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Tell me in the comment section if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, and answer my question. If you want a PDF with the information that I gave you in this video, there's a link in the description below this video. If you want to watch the other videos, wait for the end card. There will be a link to the playlist. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.